And you see resources, this parking place. For somebody who one day may take part in addressing the military-industrial complex, which is the media, the advertising, the bimbofication of everything we've known about for 50 years. Right, you see, yeah, my God, it's not pride. It's like, this is how you do it. And this is the problem with the, what did I say yesterday? Surfers, surfboards and tom-toms ain't going to change the world. But yeah, was it 2000 and... Yeah, why may a child, a person, have been so used against you just sneakily, because you never know what the truth is. But almost certainly in 2009, one or two sneaky forces acted to encourage one or two people to damage me. There you go. Well, no, damage my child, thus damaging me. Now you see, I bet the then Minister of Justice, who was involved in extraordinary rendition of brown people to torture camps, as we know, I bet you he heard the following. So yeah, I think it was early 2009. I did an interview. I took my daughter out of school, the extremely fat, and I can say this, free of worrying about slander, because it's in official papers. The school headmistress, who basically lied, almost in a situation which would call being under oath, in other words, to an official, and she put in a slanderous, disgusting lie about. It was actually about two parents, but it was completely untrue in a children's case, and she withdrew it. She actually had to. She officially withdrew her lie, her disgusting, slanderous, Welsh mean bitch lie. Now I can say that because it's true. I have paperwork. Anyway, when they seek their revenge, you don't know. You don't know what they've said to people. I had no idea. Anyway, I know the Minister of Justice in early 2009 will have heard the following, because nobody else was speaking up. And it might seem like a kind of small issue, but the issue will have saved tens, hundreds of thousands of parents from persecution by authorities. I mean, we're talking, this subtle form of persecution you can see in the BBC Panorama from May last year. But you see, if you want to actually put a rocket up the establishment, and it's thousands of rockets, of course, you have to kind of, it's not training, it's almost the exact opposite of training. You have to come back out of overcomplicated ways of putting things that your Dartmoor kind of rights protesters use. No, you actually have to back out of it and just think almost like a child. So one morning I took my child out of school, putting a note into the definite fascist, light headmistress. Oh, some real education for kid today. So yeah, I got a call from BBC. Got to go and do an interview. Right, zooming up, and this is why you need an assistant. You need a not so much someone to watch you. No, it takes two. It takes two to tango. Right, so zooming up half an hour. Pick up kid from school about 11 in the morning. Zooming up in the car. Me in a hurry. You don't often get much notice for these things. Off to the BBC studio in Hereford from Langor's disgusting school. And yeah, kiddo, please, can you look up on the internet this? I've got to think about saying this to them, did it? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Now this says, couldn't do this without Secretary Esty, which is true. Anyway, so we get in there, and the media gatekeepers, they always lie to you. Oh, you're going to be doing this at this time, and they couldn't organise a piss up in a sailor's whorehouse. So, but this is what it's all about. You've actually got to just back out of being special and speaking in a kind of officious, legalistic way. So the interview was about, oh, Simon, there's something in the press about how Jack Straw is hoodwinking everybody with trying to reverse laws, the one that was in my name, although technically not quite. No, it was just me doing a matter of principle for wider society. Didn't actually affect me, really, at all. So yeah, the Keith turns to me, and daughter sat there in the recording booth or the studio saying, okay, Simon, so tell me about what are the courts like? Well, we heard this morning actually on Radio 4 a guy who's been in jail for 17 years for false allegations or made up crap. But you've got to be able to still turn it round and say, right, well, Keith, Esty, my assistant, can you find me that excerpt from the book? And this is what you have to do. See, written by a graduate of Oxford, a famous graduate of Oxford University, their university, Douglas Adams. His book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I couldn't put it, but that's the thing. You have to put in, a man from educated. Actually, Douglas Adams was brought up sort of by the semi-establishment circles. Okay, he in his book described beautifully how the court system is, which is why we need to retain, despite Jack Straw is hoodwinking us. We need to retain as much transparency as possible. Let me read out an excerpt. I preface with, the court system is as follows, as Mr. Adams says in Hitchhikers. You want to know about Vogons, so I enter that name, he puts it in The Hitchhiker's Guide. Here is what to do if you want to get a lift from a Vogon. Forget it! They are one of the most unpleasant races in the galaxy. Not actually evil, but bad-tempered, bureaucratic, officious, and callous. They wouldn't even lift a finger to save their grandmother from the ravenous bug-blatter beast of Trad without orders signed in triplicate, sent in, sent back, queried, lost, found, subject to public inquiry, lost again, and finally buried in the soft peat for 3 months and recycled as firelighters. The best way to get a drink out of a Vogon is to stick your finger down his throat, and the best way to irritate him is to feed his grandmother to on no account allow a Vogon to read poetry at you. Do I make my point, Keith? You see, but it's the twisting it back. Here is one of yours, Douglas Adams, who wrote, obviously this is an allegory itself, and I'm using one of your people, the superb, brilliant, funny words, as an allegory for what the court system in Britain almost always is like. And for a kid also to be experiencing that is real education, because their books will be full of I mean, you want to try taking an appeal to even a lowly decision like the refusal of legal aid, it turns into a car full of paperwork. And the expense of, you don't actually have to pay for the event itself. Well, you've got to pay a bloody fortune for the photocopying, for the parking when you go to the tribunal, which is in a town or a city. They know that's how the system operates, by drowning you in paperwork. And they always have smiles, or almost always have smiles. Smiley officials who... Now, I know that Jack Straw will have heard that interview because very few people were actually speaking about his. Let's be crystal clear. This ended up in the Times and several other national newspapers as the Ministry of Justice was hoodwinking, lying to the people. Now that originated only from me pushing the newspapers to write that. And very few people were speaking about it. And it's just one example of be careful, because I know that a year later they ganged up behind my back, behind even my daughter's back, stabbed her in her back to destroy me. Not being destroyed is all there is to life, but also absolutely critically laughing at them and yourself that you fail. And you even have these trite sayings these days: fail but fail well. I don't know what that means. Big failure and failing well, there is no such thing. It's just fail and one day find how to live again. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. Right, work.